Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much tonight for joining us for an introduction to Hanukkah. We're going to learn about Hanukkah, which is a fun-filled 8-day festival, easy for me to say, celebrated by people all around the world who practice the Jewish faith. This is a virtual presentation with Rabbi Asher Bronstein, who serves as the rabbi at the Chabad of Merrimack Valley. Hanukkah is Rabbi, if I mispronounce anything, I apologize in advance here. I'm doing my best. So Hanukkah is a holiday honoring the Maccabees' victory over King Antiochus, who forbade Jews to practice their religion. It is celebrated on the 25th day of Kislev, which is the 9th month of the Hebrew calendar, which is generally in late November to mid-December. For 8 nights, candles are lit in a menorah, candelabrum with spaces for 9 candles, 1 for each night, plus a helper candle called the shamash. On each night, 1 more candle is added and lit. During the lighting, people recite special blessings and prayers, and families play games, sing songs, and exchange gifts during the celebration. I'll quit while I'm behind here. And for all 20 of us or so that are watching live, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Rabbi Asher Bronstein for being here with us tonight. And Rabbi, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Robert, from one of the most beautiful libraries that I saw. And we had an amazing event a few years ago, pre-COVID actually, Purim event with many people. Maybe some of you have some of the listeners, and on this.
Asher, not to interrupt, but our Purim event, I'm probably mispronouncing that. That was our very last event before COVID. We had that celebration, and then 2 days later, we partially shut down due to COVID. So
exactly, I remember that.
Welcome back. We're going full circle here, so welcome back.
Exactly. I want to begin with, for some reason I don't see everybody. I only see you. Is there a way I can see everybody, or?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me, Asher.
Okay. Well, it's an honor. I want to begin firstly with what's happening this year, and that's going to be the next Thursday, in a week from Thanksgiving Day, is going to be at Tewksbury Common at 5:30 p.m. We all know it's not Florida here, not Texas, not California. It's cold. So we at 5:30 we'll have a very quick event in lighting the menorah, bringing some warmth into the town. And Robert is going to be honored with lighting the shamash. The shamash is the helper. And because Robert is the helping person and the librarian in town and teaching and coordinating and so on and so forth, it goes without saying that he is honorable person to be lighting the top part of the menorah, which is the shamash. What I'm going to try to do is go back a little bit in history. Robert mentioned a little bit what happened. And I'm going to compare Hanukkah and Purim, and to a degree, let's take out a message from it that we have in our day-to-day life. So, if you look up anywhere, you look up about Hanukkah and what is basically the story. Go into every detail is going to be a bit difficult, but the basic story is as follows. It was 50 years, give or take, after not 50 years after the destruction of the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple was still actually managing and going on, but it was already some problems. It wasn't easy. It was never easy for the Jewish people in those years. We all know what happened much later in World War I, World War II, with the Holocaust, and so on and so forth. I'm sure everybody is familiar about this. I'm going to share with you what happened with Antiochus. Antiochus was the head of the Greek Empire. See, what happened first is that there were always some others that wanted to control Israel. Well, we all find and we read in history that other governments would go in and snatch another country. They want to snatch this country, the other country. Now, Israel had many blessings, the country of Israel. And because in the Middle East, and the only blessings that they would have is if there's hard labor, hard work. So what would end up happening is this guy from Egypt the king in Egypt decided that he wants to take over Israel. And then came the Greek Empire, and they said they want to take it over. Then a while later came the Romans, and they said that they want to take over Israel, and so on and so forth. We have a very interesting recording from history. What did Antiochus expect? Antiochus was the king of the Greek Empire. At that time, he was running the show. Now, if he took over Israel, someone has to pay taxes, because until then, the king of Egypt took care, and he would find his way, or a different king would find his way, how to make revenue. But when the Greeks took over, they realized, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to make the Jewish people pay most of the taxes. Now, what happened was, before it became that time that he persuaded or actually put pressure on the Jewish people to pay the taxes, he got along with the Jewish people. Nice people. They, you'll find some engineers by them. You'll find hardworking people by them too, and so on and so forth. There was at a certain point that they meshed together very well. But when it came the time of paying taxes, Antiochus went on a mission, or he sent people on a mission to go tell the Jewish people about this. He needs them to pay taxes. And the Jewish people asked, why are we different than the other people? Let everybody pay taxes. And at that time, when you ask a question by a king or by the emperor and all of that, in Yiddish, in the language of Yiddish, there's a very interesting statement. A shaila is safe. A question makes it non-kosher. If you ask too many questions, then already begins problems. So the Jewish people said, why? Why only us? Now it began. Unbelievable problems. You know why? Because you're different. We are different. What are we, angels? We're humans, like everybody else. No. It goes back in history. We know for a fact. We look in the Bible, in the First Testament, and it says clearly, on the seventh day, you work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On the seventh day, you do not work. That's what your Bible says. So what do? You lazy around. You're a lazy bum nation. You don't know what it means to work. You don't work on the high holy days, which is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You don't work on Passover. You don't work on Shavuot or Sukkot. These are names of the Jewish festivals. So what ended up happening, somehow he went to another thing. You want to know where else you're different? Let me tell you where else you're different. You Jewish people are weird. The body of a person has to be complete. And why do you guys do circumcision? So we're going to put, even if you don't start working on the Sabbath, then we're going to put on you again a tax. What do you mean? You're not working? You should work. You're not working? Then you have to pay for not working. So it became, there are basically two things that bothered them the most. This is a nation that is different than anybody. I mean, we all know that for the last many, many years, we know in New England, I think it began in New England before New York, that there was, I forgot who it was that made up, that there must be one day of a week where you don't work. It's a day of quietness, because then you're more productive in what you need to do. If you don't have a day off, then you can't be productive. But at that time, they were very upset at the Jewish people. They found on what to be upset, so to speak. You guys don't work on the Sabbath. You make circumcisions, and it's wrong. And if we can't, we want you guys to stop. Okay, so they start putting this pressure. What do we see? That they weren't really, they were against the Jewish people, but they weren't really so much against us being, it was a level of anti-Semitism not to allow you to practice your religion. But there wasn't a level of anti-Semitism not to let you live. You see, many years later, there was a Hitler that he wanted to exterminate everybody. He exterminated 1.5 million children. And then another 5 million of us? But he went not only for the Jews, he went after many, many people. I think he laid down 20 million of us, of the nation. Now, but the Greek Empire at that time said, you also have something very weird. You have a holy temple. And we understand that you do weird stuff. You bring sacrifices. You try to connect with God. You try to do things which is lighting a candelabra, a menorah. What ended up happening, they decided to move themselves in to the Holy Temple, lock everybody out. There shouldn't be a service over there. And we're going to find the oil that these people use to light the candelabra, to light the menorah. Other people call it a Chanukiah. And by this, their holiness, these people who are the Jews, so to speak, we will get them to be like us, who we are called the Hellenist community. So what happened over there? They realized that this is a nation that, like you will find other nations today that are devoted to their religion. The Jewish people had their religion, and they should be able to practice their religion. But Antiochus got very, very, very upset and said, we're doing away with the Jewish religion. They have no say in how they should live. We are going to control the situation. What ended up happening is there was a small group, who they were called the Hashmonaim, which basically they're from the Kohanim group. See, within the Jewish community, there are 3 groups. There's the Kohen, the Levite, and the Israelite. The Israelites are the simple. The Levites are a little bit more elite, and the Kohen is even more elite. The Kohen, the high priest, they do the service in the Holy Temple. They're the ones that light the menorah and so on and so forth, the candelabrum. So they came in and they made all the oil impure. See, they knew that the Jewish people are very devoted to their religion. They need to light the menorah, and they do it exactly how they're supposed to do. There's no cheating. You light the menorah in a certain way, and so on and so forth. So what ended up happening, they took all the oil and they threw it on the ground. And obviously you cannot use the oil. Well, it's a very big debate if they would not be able to use the oil. But they made up that we need to have the real pure oil. They walk into the Holy Temple after the Hashmonaim won the war and took over back the Holy Temple. The Greeks lost. And they come in and they look for oil. The number one thing they want to do is light the menorah. They know one thing: you bring in light into the world, it dispels a lot of darkness, and especially at that time. So they find a small jug of oil. Small jug of oil. It was enough to light one day. That's the traditional part of the story. It's enough to light one day. Happened a miracle that it went on for 8 days. And this is when the Jewish people the next year decided, let's make a festival. Let's make a beautiful festival. And what's very, very interesting, that over the years, until many of the Jewish people escaping Germany, Russia, and so on and so forth, came to America and Israel and so on and so forth, when it became a country, a free religion, practice how you want, and so on and so forth, Hanukkah was a very small holiday, meaning you couldn't celebrate Hanukkah in Russia then. You couldn't celebrate in Germany Hanukkah. You couldn't celebrate in Poland, in the entire Eastern Europe. You could not live free. And if you cannot live free, you cannot put a menorah on public property. Today's day and age, we thank God and we thank the United States government that they, thank God, allow all the religions to practice. And you go on many commons and you'll find a big menorah, let's say a 6-footer, a 9-footer menorah, whatever it is, and you make a big thing, a big celebration. Everybody usually comes and you celebrate Hanukkah. So basically, Hanukkah comes to tell us that there were a group called the Greek Empire at that time that was very anti-Semitic to the Jewish people, for them celebrating their religion, and they would let them live, but you have to obey some laws. You know what? Don't keep the Sabbath, don't have circumcision. We're walking into the Holy Temple and we are removing oil. You're not going to have any oil to light the menorah. However, this is Hanukkah, and it's an amazing thing. Then goes Purim. And in short, Purim was a holiday that stemmed and began in Persia. Persia, there was a king by the name of Achashverosh. He had a helper, an assistant by the name of Haman. And Haman came over to Achashverosh, and this is the story in short, and said to him, you know, there's this one nation, this typical one nation. They have a leader by the name of Mordechai. He never bows down to me. Wherever I walk, they bow down to me. He's the only one that doesn't bow down to me. And I want to get rid of him. And not only do I want to get rid of him, I want to kill all of them. Anyway, if you remember the story a little bit, Achashverosh had a queen by the name of Vashti, and she wanted to make one time a party, and Achashverosh got drunk, and Achashverosh asked by Vashti, who was his queen, I want you to show off your body. And she didn't want. She was a bit more modest than her husband, the king. And she said no. So Achashverosh, the drunkard, asks by Haman, what do I do with someone that doesn't listen to me, who's my own queen? Haman gave him advice, you have to kill her right away. Now Achashverosh kills her, and he doesn't have a queen, and he's lonely, and so on and so forth. To make the story short, one time he makes up that let's line up all the women, and maybe I'll find someone very beautiful, and so on and so forth. Guess what? He found this Jewish woman by the name of Esther. And Esther was very beautiful. He took her as a queen, but she did not tell him that she is from the Jewish community. Came out that at a certain time, Haman had his story with Mordechai. He threw in Hebrew it's called a goral, he made a lot, and it came out that one day in a special month in Hebrew called Adar, which is A-D-A-R, which is a month before Passover, that month, and one day I'm going to exterminate all the Jewish people. And guess what? Achashverosh gave him the right to do it. Now, Esther realizes, with many, many details to the story, I'm not going to go into it for now, that it's in her hands. She's going to have to let Achashverosh know, I'm Jewish. And she makes one party, she makes another party, and she lets Achashverosh know, you know what Haman wants? Haman wants to do, wants to get rid of the entire Jewish community. And he asks her, so what's wrong? He says, do you know that I'm Jewish? You're Jewish? I had no idea. I apologize. And it turned around, and thank God, Achashverosh said, you know what? Haman, you wanted to kill all the Jewish people? We're going to hang you. That's it. I'm going to ask you all a question. What happened here? What happened? How by Esther telling Achashverosh that I'm Jewish, it changed his mind? You know what happened? Achashverosh also initially was anti-Semitic, not as much as Haman, but he was anti-Semitic. For the mere fact that he did agree, let's kill them. When Esther tells him, but you know what, I'm Jewish, he realizes, oh, if you're Jewish, then it can't be so bad because you're such a nice person. If you're nice, they must also be nice. So why would I want to kill them? And there's a lot of details to the story and so on and so forth. I want to share with you something very, very important. Why was Haman anti-Semitic so much? And why was the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, why is there so much hate? Actually, I gave a course the last 4 weeks on outsmarting anti-Semitism. And last night was the last lesson, Sunday morning and last night. I'm going to give it to you in short. You see, we are all born with a mission. Each and one of us have a mission. Obviously, Robert Hayes' mission is, we all know, is to bring education to the world. Running the library, it's amazing to see youth being involved, elderly people being involved, all ages, men, women, and so on and so forth. I also know what my mission is, teaching and being involved with many of law enforcement, fire department, as a chaplain. Everybody has to have a mission. A baby, an infant has a mission. If parents have a child and they have no idea what mission the baby is going to have, we don't know the exact mission, but there should be towards a mission, a goal. When there's no mission, what happens? When there's no goal in life, when people walk around the streets, they have no happiness because, yes, we can put it to a degree, it's lacking in self-esteem. Why is it lacking in self-esteem? It's lacking in self-esteem, perhaps we could say, because they have never taught or never given the right mission that suits them. But what is the mission? To bring light into the world, to help an elderly person in a nursing home, in an assisted living, visiting someone in the hospital, giving a friend a good word, a smile. And there's so much to do to fix up the world, to make sure that everyone has a mission. There's more than enough to go around. When people have no mission, they have nothing to look out for, They need to feel that void. How are you going to feel that void? Let's go attack the Jews. Haman felt, if I kill each and one of them, he'll feel much better because there's a void. When there's a void, you got to do something. So how much vodka can a person drink? And how much time can he spend at a bar? It's limit. But if you kill the Jews, there's more space. They're making a big mistake. So the Greeks decided, if we will put pressure on the Jewish people, no circumcision and no Sabbath, and no holiness in their holy temple. We should not let them connect with their God and so on and so forth. Well, let's go. What did Hitler do? Why did he have a void? Let's go what happened till 32 years ago when family of mine, my father had to escape Russia in the 40s. But let's look 32 years ago when the country of Russia was closed. Jewish people were not able to they weren't able to act like a Jewish, they weren't, if they did anything Jewish, they would get a beating. My father told me that he remembered in the 41, 42, when he was still in Russia in 45, if he walked outside with a kippah, an officer would come over to him and we schlep away, take it off his head. So my dear friends, I want to sum it up. Basically, let's not allow that our generation and the next generation for sure should have no mission, should have a goal in life. They need a mission, they need a goal in their life, and they need to be taught about anything about a religion. They need to know there's a God. Whatever God you teach them, whatever God you want to tell them that there's the omnipresent and whatnot, and so on and so forth. Or if you figure out something which is above, there's something special about his life. There's so much to look up in life. I want you to be a librarian. I want you to be the CEO of a company. I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a doctor. If we do not give the education, the proper education to our children, that's when anti-Semitism kicks in, because they need to get it from somewhere. They need to fill the void and fill their heart with goodness and kindness. So when it comes Hanukkah time, there's all the lightings in the park and the lightings everywhere. But I can tell you the lesson of Hanukkah. The lesson of Hanukkah is the first night we light one candle. Plus, who lights the candle? It's the shamash, the one that protects the town, the one that protects the menorah. He's the one on top, and he lights the first candle. But the second night, if you light only a second candle and not the first candle, that's not enough. You need to add the second night in making the mission a little bit stronger, bring a little bit more light. So to the third night, the fourth night, the fifth night, the sixth night, the seventh night, and the eighth night. When the eighth night you have the full menorah and it's lit, that means you made your mission strong and powerful, or maybe you took on yourself another mission to make this world a better world. This is the ultimate celebration of Hanukkah.
So, Rabbi,
if anyone wants to learn more about Hanukkah, you can also check our website, which is www.chabad, which is C as in crown, H as in hula, A as in apple, B as in boy, A as in America, D as in dolphin, MV for Merrimack Valley, chabadmv.com. And you'll find a lot of stuff about Hanukkah. Oh, Robert put it up. Thank you. So I'm going to see if there's any.
Yeah, so folks, if anyone has any questions for the rabbi, now would be the time to get it into either the chat or the Q&A. And let's try to take 5 to 10 minutes of questions. So can you talk a little bit more about the menorah, Rabbi? And you sort of talked about its historical significance. I guess, this may be a silly question. Do you light the candles in a certain order? Does each candle day have its own name? I guess, what can you tell us more about the menorah?
Let me tell you about the menorah. So let me tell you first about the name Hanukkah. So that's the name. Where did it come from, this name?
Sure.
And then from this, it'll be easier to understand about the menorah. So the word Hanukkah is two words that became one. You see, Hanukkah begins on the 25th, always on the 25th of the month, the Hebrew month of Kislev. If you get into a calendar, Jewish and English calendar, you'll see in the Jewish calendar side, you'll see it's the 25th of Adar, that's Hanukkah. Now, if you take the word Hanukkah, you split it into Chanu means they rested. There was a big war, so they rested. The first day they rested from after the war was the 25th day of the month of Kislev. So Chanu, which is the first half of Hanukkah, means they rested. Ka is in Hebrew letters Chaf and Hey, which make it 25. So they rested on the 25th of the month of Kislev, and this means Hanukkah. You get it? So Chanu, the first half of word of Hanukkah, means they rested after the war, and the second half of word of Ka is the 25th. So now, once you have the idea that Hanukkah begins on the 25th, so you begin with lighting the menorah. So you light from the right. The first, you start from the right. The second day, however, you'll prepare from the right to the next one to it, but you will light first the new one. The third day, you'll also prepare from right to left, the middle and the next one, but you light the new one. You'll always light first the new one. And the first night, you have 3 blessings, which I can tell you what they are, which is I saw there's a question over here, but we'll soon answer it. The 3 blessings are: blessed are you, God, our God, the King of the universe, that you made miracles for us, and not made miracles, you sanctified us with a good deed to light the menorah. The second one is: blessed are you, God, our God, the King of the universe, that you made miracles then and miracles now. And the third blessing is: blessed are you, God, that you renew this year again the festival of Hanukkah. Let me see the question.
Yep. So Daisy asks, how long does the menorah stay lit after the 8th day of lighting?
So basically, according to law, to Jewish law, every night when you light the menorah, it should be on, the candles should be on at least for 18 minutes. At least for 18 minutes. And that goes also for the last day of Hanukkah, which is number 8. It should be lit for 18 minutes. Now, in this itself, there are many people that decided that they'll try to buy candles that will be lit for a little bit longer. Some get a candle that's going to go for 30 minutes, and some go for an hour. In our home, we light it on real oil, and we try to have it lit for about an hour. And we every night, no matter what time we light the menorah, usually it's after we did the community event. We go home, and my wife makes potato latkes or pancakes, and it's the idea of oil mixed together. It's also a reminder. But I'm telling you now that if you eat the latkes, you'll gain a little weight. You have to run the next day double, but it's just to sit by the menorah, everybody together. It's just an unbelievable feeling.
Can you talk a little bit about how gift giving works? Does each child get one gift? Is it per night? How does that whole thing work?
Well, let me tell you a very interesting thing. It's very, very funny. In the Jewish community, people try to figure out where this is coming from, the idea of gift giving.
Okay.
So the origin of it, it's a negative. It's a negative. How do you say a negative? Not concept, but a negative statement in the Talmud. The Talmud is more the oral law. See, the Torah has 5 books of Moses, but then from the 5 books of Moses, it's very difficult for us to know. Let's say the Torah says you should put up a mezuzah on your doorpost. We have a mezuzah on our doorpost. Many mezuzot. Mezuzot is what you put on the it says in the Torah clearly, in Deuteronomy, you should have a mezuzah that protects your home, and so on and so forth. Now, it says, we don't know how the mezuzah should look. How do you make a mezuzah? So you need to study the Talmud, which is the oral law, to understand how to make the mezuzah. And most laws are like that. We have to study the inside, and it's like the white keys and the black keys of a piano. If you're missing the white keys and only have the black keys, it's not gonna go well. You have both, so you realize and you get an understanding how to do it. So in the Talmud, it says like this: you're not allowed to count money near the menorah for the first 18 minutes that you're lighting the menorah. Don't sit and count your money. Put it away. From this, it became a tradition. You're not allowed to count money then. So that means there's an idea between giving money to children, and perhaps eventually we learned, giving money to children during Hanukkah is an education, because you're telling them, take part of your money, 10% of your money, and put it to charity. So from this whole idea became, okay, let's buy some gifts on Hanukkah. So many people have a custom that almost every night of Hanukkah, they will get a special gift for the children. Now, we make sure to give money to the kids. If we can get a gift, there's time to it, we buy a gift too. But we usually try to give the money and tell them that they should take 10% and give it to charity.
Nice. And are there certain games that children play specifically during Hanukkah?
Yeah, let me show you. We have a jar right over here. I don't know if they can see it. Can you see this?
Yes.
This is a dreidel.
Mm-hmm.
And on the dreidel, there are 4 Hebrew letters. One is a nun, which is an N. One is a G, a Gimel. One is a H, which is a Hey. And one is a letter SH sound, which is a Shin. Basically, the origin of this game is the way it's explained in the oral law, is at that time, there was for many, many weeks, at the time of Hanukkah, with the Greeks didn't want to allow people to study their Torah. So what did they do? So every time when they saw kids studying, they would say, "What are you studying?" And they would say, "We're not studying, we're actually playing a game." It's called a dreidel. What was this game? So I don't know the letters they had then, but for us, it's common, the idea that it should have a great miracle happen then, which means a great miracle happened on Hanukkah. Now, when you play, if it falls on the G, then you're a big winner. A big winner if it falls on the G. Because the G, which is Gadol, means big. If it falls on any other letter, you'll win, but you'll win small. So this is basically a whole jar of dreidels that kids love to play with, and in many places people get dressed into a special costume, like a Hanukkah costume or a dreidel costume, and they have a good time.
You mentioned the potato pancakes. Any other foods that are specifically eaten during the Hanukkah festival?
Absolutely. So they have this tradition, and we're also, God willing, going to bring to the Thursday night event, is to eat, in Hebrew called sufganiyot, in English are donuts. And we're going to have for everybody donuts from Israel. And now donuts also are a little bit fatty. I told our supplier, do us a favor, for everybody's health, make a little bit less oil with the donuts, and it's customary. So basically what a lot of people do is they will eat pancakes with cream, with sour cream, or donuts, any kind of food that has a little bit of oil that will remind them of the miracle of oil that happened on Hanukkah.
And we'll wrap up with this question unless we get another one from the audience. But let me ask you, and maybe you've already discussed it, but if there's one misconception about Hanukkah that you could clear up for us, what do you think that misconception is?
What do I think the misconception is?
Or I guess put another way, what is one thing you really want to emphasize to us when it comes to Hanukkah?
Really is the most important thing as a message, that the message of Hanukkah is to do at least one good deed every day. And if the second day of Hanukkah, I say to myself, no, I did it already last night, I'm not interested in doing today, then we missed the boat. Because one good deed is supposed to lead to another good deed. Just like Hanukkah, every night we add another candle, another light to dispel the darkness. So too, every day, to try to do a good deed, try to connect with people, try to make a phone call. There are many people that live alone. If we can all make a phone call to someone to say hello. I personally have every night I call 6 elderly people that live alone. So, and I know they look forward, they will not go to sleep if I didn't call them. They do know that Friday night and Saturday night I will not call them, but usually they know, these elderly people, they know that they're going to get a phone call from me. So everybody there, if you can add a good deed, if you can even find tonight or tomorrow night someone that you can just make a phone call, when you'll make the phone call, you will put a cheer on their face, you'll make them smile, bring them happiness, then that's unbelievable.
Well, that's a great message to end on, Rabbi. And so I just want to remind folks who are on the call that Tewksbury will be having its town menorah lighting on Thursday, December 2nd at 5:30. So if you're watching live, that's next Thursday, December 2nd at 5:30 on the town common. And Asher and I will be there. I'm certainly looking forward to it. Asher, any last words to the group before we end the call?
Yes, I want to tell the group, although I cannot see them, but I'm honored that I was invited to spend tonight, which is a little bit before Hanukkah, and most important, it's a day or two before Thanksgiving. We are so honored and privileged that we can all celebrate this Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and so much to take from it, to give thanks, God, on a daily basis for all the good that have been bestowed upon each one of us.
So, Rabbi, go make those 6 phone calls to those 6 seniors. I echo Asher. I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. And for those who celebrate, obviously, a happy Hanukkah. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I hope everyone has a great night. Thanks
a
again.
billion, Robert. Take care, everybody.
You too.